Good evening and welcome to Press Pass. My name is Mark Masai and this is what we have coming up.
So if media even tries to announce results, hata hiyo tutafunga.
On the transmission of results, you said the media must be given unfettered access to the election.
A case of what was and what is to be expected. When the repeat elections happen, will the media repeat the mode of relaying results or will things change?
When our competitors say that it is not that they want to boycott the election, that there will be no election in Kenya, what are they telling us?
You said you want uchaguzi bora, sio bora uchaguzi.
Strong positions given by NASA and Jubilee ahead of the repeat elections. What are the implications and have they been explained by no less than the Fourth Estate? Let me introduce you to the panel who have been waiting, and thank you for joining us. Patrick Gadhara, cartoonist and columnist, and of course, a regular contributor here on Press Pass. Thank you for joining us. He's seated next to Dr. Wandia Njoya, a lecturer and a blogger. And next to her is Dr. Nancy Booker, who is as well a lecturer, especially for media students, as well as practitioner, has been but a senior lecturer at the Graduate School of Media and Communications at the Aga Khan University. And next to her, beg your pardon, is Macharia Gaido, an independent journalist. The laymen are seated aside from the doctors. Thank you for joining us. Now, let's put this into context with this particular briefing that was given earlier today. NASA leader and presidential candidate Raila Odinga maintains that the repeat election will not take place unless some demands are met. In fact, the demands were first referred to as irreducible minimums, and today, in what was a fresh campaign to see changes made at the IEBC, Raila also demanded access for media to the counting and announcement of votes at the polling stations.
On the transmission of results, you said the media must be given unfettered access to the election and specifically counting of votes and announcement of results at the polling stations, tallying and declaration of the presidential results at the constituency. In addition to this, he put together information linking local telecommunication firms, particularly Safaricom and Telcom Kenya, in collaboration with Saffron and how they stole our votes. 10. We are on the trail of the local owners of saffron and the firms that printed fake result declaration forms and ballot papers along Mombasa Road, called ELAMS. We need credible elections conducted by men and women of integrity, not by the Chilobas, Chirchirs, Kasaids, and Guliyes of this world. You said you want uchaguzi bora, sio bora uchaguzi.
That wasn't the entire statement. In fact, you can see the entire reading, of course, what he gave earlier. And this is on his page, Raila Odinga, the leader of NASA. This is a statement he made with a meeting of regional grassroots leaders earlier in the day. I chose to start with the issue of the media access that he is demanding for, especially in the counting and relaying of the votes at the polling stations. And I'll start with Gadhara, who has been on this particular point for weeks now. And in fact, in one of his columns that he's written, articles that he's written on elephant, and the elephant that you should visit, one of the lines here says, initially the media gave every indication that it would do exactly this, and that is to show the results from the 290 constituencies, and there is little doubt it had a requisite capacity, and in fact saying that there was every indication that we had the capacity. Are you still questioning or asking for these results, even with all the results, I mean the information that has come out from the Supreme Court and what have you? Is it still important to come out from the media houses?
Yes, it is. I think the fact that it's almost 6 weeks now since the election, and not a single media house has actually come out and said this was what was reported at the constituency tallying centers. Mm-hmm. 290 of them. And I think one of the big questions we have is whether or not what was announced at Bomas tallied with what was announced at lower levels. You know, and the fact that the media would report all the disputes that's going on without actually coming and saying, well, these are the actual numbers. You know, and they had people there. You know, Macharia himself told us this a few weeks back. In fact, he promised to release those results. I hope today he'll tell us what happened to that. You know, but it's very important, I think, for the media to take the lesson today. You know, I think they bring out those the results as they have them. Yes, they've been impugned and all that. You know, but then take the lesson, and by the next election, if it's on the 17th or afterwards, to ensure that whatever is announced and when it's announced, we not only just have the report, they can carry it live, they can record it. You know, then we are not caught in this dispute where it's either a NASA word against Jubilee, but we have an independent arbiter there. You know, so just what the IBC says, we've got somebody who can give figures that we can check. Okay. What the IBC says against.
Okay, before I get to Macharia to give you to give him the right of reply, as he was part of the election desk, at least speaking for Nation Media Group, Dr. Ondia, do you believe this is still important that media houses should give what they manage to tally from the polling stations? What purpose would it serve right now?
I think it would continue the confidence that Kenyans are expressing in our institutions. They have already expressed confidence, of course, in the judiciary, and actually the polls are looking a bit good for the media. So this would just be another backup and a confirmation of the robust nature of Kenya's democracy, because actually the democracy depends on all these institutions working together. And I think this is a good time for the media to chip in and be part of the movement, because I believe there's a movement going on in terms of Kenya proving to the world that we can manage very difficult times in our political history.
Right. From a professional standpoint, you train media practitioners for the profession in the days to come, and even those who are in practice right now. What's your recommendation at this point?
I think one, it's important that media tells us exactly what happened. If those results are not there, then they need to come out openly and tell us, this is why we cannot be able to give you those results. And that's important because part of the bashing that has, come in the way of media has been that prior to the election, there was a lot of promise in terms of this is what we're going to deliver. We were involved in training at the Aga Khan University. Media Council did a lot of training on election reporting. And in the training, there was the whole emphasis of media having a duty and responsibility to candidates, to the voters, and to the larger public. And this is where that responsibility comes in. So in the same breath and the same manner in which we have reported everything else, if there is a reason why those results are not available or media doesn't have access to them, then I think it's important that that is said, so that as we go into the next election, that we can go back and ask ourselves, why is it that we were not able to transmit those results?
All right.
Because in terms of preparation, the media houses had prepared. They had invested in technology, they had invested in human, capacity to be able to do that. So that information needs to come to bear.
Was the media chewing more than you could swallow on this particular issue?
In a way, yes. And I think that has been the experience from 2007, 2002, when we tried to set up our own tallying systems. But I want to refer to this particular one. Yes, I was heading the National Election Desk. I did come here, this very chair. Yes. And I said, yes, we are collecting results, but we have been very slow, much slower than what is already being projected on the IBC portal. But I believe we will carry on doing it until we get as much as we can. By the time we're getting whatever we got, it was already outdated. But we had a lot of discussion in-house, and I said, let us continue doing it, because that can provide something for us to compare with what is being reported by the IBC. And we did try to get as much as we could. It was very, very slow. we had agents in 200 and out of 290 constituencies, we had agents in 260. 30 we did not manage to recruit, or some dropped out. Out of those 260, by the end of that first week, when things were already winding down, only 90 had reported. Our question now is, what happened to the rest? And that is what we were pursuing. And what we found is that most of those, that left another 170 or so unaccounted for. Most of those were saying that they were denied access by the election officials.
Someone might say that's where the story is.
Yeah. And that's an important
story. They were denied access by the election officials. In some cases, the numbers were not displayed as required by law. There were cases where they were told by the election officials, oh, you don't worry, we'll send you, give us your emails, we'll send you the results.
Right.
Are you serious?
They never sent, or they sent a week later. A lot of that was happening. And I think it was not just the media, even political parties. Agents had the same problems. My recommendation was that we run with that story. Unfortunately, it was not my call.
Right. With the issue of those agents, just to be clear on it, these are people recruited, not necessarily staffers of Nation Media Group, because the story that is out there now is...
It was a mixture of Nation Media Group staffers and correspondents, and then because of the sheer numbers involved, people recruited specifically for that exercise, just to go and wait at the polling station until you get the results. Most of them were university students, mostly media students, and freelance journalists, and anybody else we could find. There were also cases of fatigue, and I think this affected not just Nation, but all media houses. What happened is, it's a major logistical issue. You have one guy at one polling station. He's there on the first night. He spends the whole night there. There is no result. The second night, there is no result. At some point, he breaks down and goes home. And I think that's what affected. I talked to colleagues even at Standard Group and Royal Media, because I knew they had also set up systems. What happened? At Nation, at Standard, I found they only managed to get 10 results. What happened? They had not got accreditation for their agents. So their agents had to wait 400 meters away. They could not access in
the first place.
What do you call it? The constituency center.
But that shouldn't really matter, because this is supposed to be announced publicly, so any member of the public should have access to wherever they put up this.
They were limiting access simply because of the sheer numbers there were for security or whatever. They were limiting access to those with accreditation. Okay, because they were doing it inside the hall. Some places they would go outside, but they were doing it inside the hall.
To manage the numbers.
I believe a Citizen, Royal Media had the same problem, and that they did not manage to get anything worth reporting.
Right.
For Nation to get 90, I think, was a big deal. It could help. It could at least help show some trends. And what it showed actually was that there was not very much difference between what our guys gathered and what was reported on the portal and at Bombers.
Because and the reason I'm letting you explain this, and you get to respond now that you've heard the explanation. Not too long before the election, there was this very harsh word from the ICTCS, Bonam Sheru, saying that media houses that would show their own tally would get into trouble. In fact, he said they'll be closed down. Let's listen in. This was on July 29th, I believe. Let's listen in.
We have allowed people to tally their own votes, but they tally in their homes, in their bunkers, wherever they are, they do tallying for themselves. If anyone dares to announce or publish any results other than IEBC, watatujuta sisi. Hata nyinyi media, you are not IEBC. Constitution has given IEBC the responsibility for announcing results, nobody else. Okay? Yes. So if media even tries to announce results, hata hiyo tutafunga. What is this internet business you're talking about? Nobody is meddling with the IBC. IBC has their independence, and we must let them do their work.
Perhaps someone might say that is what intimidated the media houses from going forward to show their results. When
actually, I'd want to hear what Macharia has to say about that. Whether that was something that actually had an effect.
I think as a media, not just Nation, but everybody came out very strongly and told the Cabinet Secretary that he is completely out of order. He will not dictate. He does not know the law, because the law does provide for the media to cover and report on results. In any case, there is no issue of reporting numbers that are not IBC numbers, because everything will be based on the raw data coming from the polling station, which are IBC numbers. Right. So the issue of anything not being IBC numbers does not arise.
Right.
And really, it's a matter of some politician getting excited or some cabinet secretary getting excited, thinking maybe he wants to make a point. But I think we came out very clearly that that directive will be ignored.
And it didn't stop us from sending out the numbers.
It did not stop us.
To cover.
Yeah, you know, the way that the media was actually supposed to report that was to report the results that were being announced by IEBC in those respective tallying, you know, at the tallying centers. So media was not going to come up with its own results and announce. They were actually going to record those results being announced and relay, you know, the same that is being relayed by IEBC, because those results are final. Based on the, you know, on the ruling that was made regarding the election results transmission. The challenge, however, is that, you know, there is the untold story of what happened, because on election day, right from very early in the morning, media was on location in various places reporting, you know, how the queues were forming and how people rose up early to go and vote, and the preparedness, and where the, you know, this started late. We still remember some of the places down at the coast where, you know, the polling stations were opened late. But then at the end of the day, where we expected to hear what was actually now happening at the counting, that did not come to bear. And all of a sudden there was a silence, you know. And we were just seeing the results as they were being transmitted on the screen, which have since now developed all manner of names, data, statistics, and so on. You know, so I think when we talk about, and I know that the bashing on media has been, you know, really strong, and we must accept that, you know, that bashing is strong because there is, you know, it's where the public has placed media, that we have that responsibility. They have bestowed on us that responsibility. So in a situation where that truth is unknown, they turn to media to be able to provide that truth, to provide those answers. Right. And I think that's a lesson for us to learn, that going forward, we need to be very transparent in terms of reporting, and where that reporting is disadvantaged or is challenged in one way or another, we still need to be able to say, this is what we have done, this is why we couldn't report the results, because there are even cases of journalists and reporters who are attacked in some of those locations.
That is true.
You know, sent out of tallying centers, not just by you know, officials, but even by politicians themselves. Yes. And those cases, you know, have not been reported.
Yeah, Dr. Njoy, as you've heard the explanation to this, the logistical nightmare there was, would this then lead to people disassociating the notion, like what Bram Shikanda saying, the media houses bosses seem to have gone to bed with the government, especially with this issue of the results?
I think, like the others are saying, it would have been good to hear this story. It's not enough to just say we were not able to get the results, but also tell us that story. How come, what was the experience of not having access to the tallying centers? What was the experience of not getting accreditation, so that the public can be with the media in terms of understanding what exactly happened? But I'm really disturbed, I think, in hindsight, by Mushero's statement, because I think it did poison the atmosphere, so that it was almost like a signal that things would not go well. So even when now you hear the stories of media people not getting access to the polling stations and stories like that, it seems to be a fulfillment of what he said, which is very unfortunate. But also, even listening to him, he sounds like he was confusing announcement of results with relaying of results. Because anyone can say, I'm at polling station X, this is the result that IEBC announced. I am not transmitting, I am not announcing the official results, I'm just saying what I have seen.
Yes.
So to equate the media saying what they have, what IEBC has reported with the official announcement of results, that was disingenuous, because I don't think anyone was doubting the IEBC's mandate to announce the results.
Yes.
But they are equating reporting the results with announcements.
Announcing and then making it independent. Gadara, you'll give me a chance to just take a break, because my director, my director here, the controller of my time, says we need to take a quick one and then be back shortly, and I'll be able to read some of your responses as you follow the discussion. Stay with Press Pass.